Hello, and welcome to your first real journaling experiential activity for this semester in sensation and perception. So, just to give you a quick introduction on what these exercises are supposed to be about and how they'll work, the purpose of doing these is really to give you a chance to have an experience outside of class that's related to what we're learning in the classroom, and that these experiences are going to really help you to learn the material better. For one thing, they're going to put it into context for you in your own life, how this stuff relates to things outside of class, and it's going to give you some opportunities to reflect on what you're learning in class and how you can apply it to other things. And reflection is one of the things that we here at Xavier are trying to learn to do, all of us, in fact, including myself. And actually, I'm going to be doing some of these, hopefully all of them, with you through the semester. I'm going to follow my own instructions and do these experiences myself, because we can always have more perceptual experiences. So, what these are going to look like in general is I'm planning, anyway, to make these videos, which is a little bit of a podcast feel to it. You can see my little podcast microphone. And so I'll give you some instructions. I'm just going to say some instructions to you on these videos for how to do your little experience, and then what to put into your journal about it. So you should be able to take these recordings with you if you want to. Like, you could watch the whole recording and then kind of like make notes for yourself about what you're going to do during the experience, or if you prefer, you can use the recording to help guide you through doing each of the experiential exercises. So, for example, if you load up this YouTube video on your device, then you could play it, and you could pause it after, like, when I tell you to listen for things in your environment, for example. You could pause the video and take a minute to listen for things in the environment, and then you could play some more of the instructions and kind of step through the instructions that way. So however it works for you, but I'm trying to make it flexible for you by doing this in this YouTube video format. Okay, so this is our first one, and we're at the beginning of the semester, and we are talking about some of the basics of psychophysics, which has to do with the relationship between the physical stimuli and our perceptions, and some of the ways that we measure these things. And in particular, in class, we're learning about the concept of a perceptual or sensory threshold. There's absolute thresholds, which is the kind of the amount of intensity, for example, that you need in order to be able to detect that there's something there. And there's difference thresholds also, which is the amount of change in the thing that is needed in order to notice that there's a difference. And we measure these things in terms of like physical dimensions, but then we're putting those physical measurements as a way of understanding what's happening mentally, where there's a difference between one thing and another thing. All right, so here's what you're going to do for this. I want you to, if you are not already, find a environment that is possibly like an open space. You could go somewhere open on campus, or this could be a private space as well. It should be some kind of a location where you have various kinds of stimuli that are around that you can notice and feel comfortable, right? So find a place that you're comfortable and get into that place, make yourself comfortable, and now take a few moments to just take in what's in the environment. And feel free to pause this video whenever you're ready to have a few moments of silence to do that. So you're going to just look around you, see the things that you can see, and then you might want to close your eyes and direct your attention to your sense of hearing. Notice what you can hear, what kinds of things are audible to you. Direct your attention to your sense of smell. What do you smell in this environment? If you really take a moment and try to analyze the smells that are in the air. What are some things that you feel on your skin, for example? Do you taste anything? You might have a taste in your mouth right now. So take note of each of the things that you're noticing in your different senses. And you might even want to pause the video right now and write down some of those things in your journal. And as you're going through these things that you notice in your environment, try to notice some things about the qualities of them, like what is the intensity of the thing? Or if you're seeing something, is it very bright? Is it dim? What kind of intensity is there for the color? For sounds, you can think about these things, or smells. For each of the different things that you noticed. Is it constant? Is it kind of intermittent? Like, is the sound coming and going? Is it pleasant? There might be something that's unpleasant to you if you take the time to notice. Are there things that you recognize? Are there things that you don't recognize what it is, but you still detect it? Are there any kinds of words that you would use to describe those things? So if you want to take a moment now, you can pause the video, and in your journal where you're listing out some of these things that you're noticing with each of your senses, write down a few words about that are descriptive of each of the things that you're noticing. Okay, now what I'd like you to do now is try to notice if there's some kind of stimulus that's pretty subtle, like kind of close to the edge of being able to detect it, right? So it could be a sound that's kind of like not a very loud sound in your environment. Or if you happen to be in a dim environment, something that you can only just see a little bit, for example, or something you can only just smell. Those would be some good examples of kind of subtle stimuli. You might find that probably sounds or smells might work really well for this. Now I want you to pick one of them, okay, and really try to pay attention to what is in this stimulus. That's kind of a quiet or a slight stimulus, but pay attention to the intensity of it. Can you tell what direction it's coming from? Can you notice any of the other features that it might have that you would use to describe it? So for a sound, it might be high-pitched or low-pitched, for example. Try to put some other words on it. If you want to stop now and take notes in your journal on that as well, now might be a good time to take some notes on this particular kind of subtle stimulus that you've noticed and some things about it. Okay, now we're getting into the kind of final part of our little experience here. With this stimulus that you've chosen, this kind of, not very bright, not very loud, or whatever it is. We're focusing on something that's kind of a subtle thing, because what I want you to do now is to see if you can do something take some action that will cause you to notice a change in the stimulus that you're paying attention to. So for example, if it's a sound, what would you have to do in order for it to sound just a little bit different? And it could be on any of those dimensions that you have noted, right? The most obvious one's going to be the intensity, like how loud it is, for example, or how bright something is, or the intensity of the smell of something, are all examples. Or it could be some other quality. All right, but something that you noticed about it, if you move your body a certain way, right, or you take some kind of action, how much, what's just enough to make you just be able to notice the difference, right? The minimum amount that you do. If you can figure out what that is, right, then you've measured a difference threshold. What I want you to do in your journal is to write down what exactly was the action that you had to take and how much of an action you had to do. Like how far did you have to move, for example, and in which direction did you have to move? For you to just notice the difference. And that thing that you did, right, the amount of what you did and exactly how you did it, that's one way of describing what a difference threshold is, because that's the change that you had to make physically in order to notice a change mentally. Now, okay, finally, is there anything that you could do to actually make the stimulus go away from your perception altogether, right? How far do you have to move, for example, to not be able to detect it anymore at all? And then once you've moved to where you can't detect it, right, where are you in relation to the stimulus when you're just on the edge of being able to detect it? That's a way of thinking about your absolute threshold, right? So if I have to move away from something, how far away from it am I when it becomes undetectable? If you can do this, and you might find that you can't get far enough away, but that's something I'd like for you to note down in your notebook. So in your notebook, write about what you have to do to get past the absolute threshold for this stimulus that you're noticing. Okay, so all right, I hope you've been able to do all of these parts. And again, you can pause this video anytime. In your journal, be sure that you have made notes about at least something that you have detected in each of your senses that you paid attention to, and some notes about some of the qualities of those stimuli. And make sure that you have identified in particular the stimulus that you examined for the difference threshold and absolute threshold, and what you had to do to relate to those thresholds. And once you've noted all those things down in your journal, give me a couple of sentences of reflection about how this experience of noticing things in the environment and noticing how your interaction with the environment could change your perception of them. How does that affect your relationship to the environment? Did you notice anything that you hadn't noticed? Do you have any different feelings about your environment after doing this exercise? Did this show you anything about the similarity or difference between changes to the environment and changes in your perception? Tell me a little bit about how you're feeling about the relation between your physical surroundings and your perceptions. All right, I can't wait to see what you all have written, and I'll see you in class.